He has the Hottel
Okay.
brand
All
name on
right.
hats. He does a
It's
great
really
job.
it looks nice.
No, it is nice.
It looks like a goat, and then the hooves. And
Actually,
then,
it's an acorn. It's an
oh,
acorn.
it's an acorn.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the image right.
This thing, yeah, it's like I thought it looks like a squirrel or something. I haven't figured out what it is yet.
No, I know he said it was an acorn. I thought it was like kind of like a goat, and then the hooves like under on top of the huddle.
Uh-huh.
It looks like a goat to me, but
I'm I'm
it's a.
still stuck at it's
I
two
think it's an acorn.
squirrels like high fiving each other.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
I think it's two squirrels high fiving, but it could totally be an acorn.
Two squirrels. Yeah, with an acorn around it. I think that's what it is. I have one too, a white one.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. There's a Hottel Hat guy that gave it to me. Shout out to Mr. Hottel Hat. Awesome guy. Met him in Toronto last year at the Blockchain Futurist Conference, which is a lot of altcoins and actually it's mostly Ethereum stuff, tokens and stuff in Toronto. But their conference is a great time. Very well placed. Just not enough Bitcoin in there.
He was the only vendor at the Unconfiscatable conference.
Oh yeah, nice. It's like yeah, he supplies Stone Vase with hats.
Right.
All right. Well, how's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining us. I've got Ugly on the call today, and for those who think I'm just being rude, calling somebody ugly just to their face on the internet, that's his name. It's Ugly Old Goat. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, my friends call me by my first name.
Got it. Well, I guess we're just getting acquainted. So do you want me to call you by your first name, or do you want to go by Ugly?
Ugly is my first name.
That's right.
Oh.
I was getting a little worried there, but I think we're.
Yeah, it's not a big secret. Tom's broken out who I really am, but I have a storied past. I wasn't sure I even wanted to do this, and memes work successfully too. So it's worked out well for me. I've done things a little bit different, getting into the space. I really started just writing Medium articles. And then I went on to Twitter, and now I'm doing a little YouTube. And now we're doing the Working Man's Bitcoin Cruise.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. It's a very exciting cruise conference that you're going to be, it's going to be leaving Long Beach, California. And I really like your focus. When is the cruise happening?
Okay, September 19th through the 22nd, and which is the 19th is a Thursday, and it leaves in the late afternoon. So you only it's geared for the working man, an entrepreneur. You only miss one day of work. You'll be back. You leave Thursday afternoon after work, and you'll be back Sunday morning.
Got it.
And it'll be full of action. We have it. We have it scheduled, so there's actually an inaugural race down here. If you're familiar, Ensenada is in the Baja, so we're famous down here for having the Baja 500 and the Baja 1000 race, which run down the peninsula.
Right.
So there's a new inaugural race, which is going to be the Baja 500, which will be that weekend. So we will actually be embarking on Ensenada then, and we will be going to watch the race, or at least where they start the race, and then have lunch, come back down here to the Bitcoin house. So it should be fun. I mean, we're lucky that we are able to do it. We'll never do it again on this kind of a weekend, because I think the boat's pretty full. We thought nobody had heard about it since the first time they've had this race, but
that's great. So I really like the timing, actually. So you only miss one day. You leave on the afternoon, later, like close to sunset, more or less, on Thursday, and then you get back on Sunday morning. And it's right before Crypto Springs too, which is another conference coming up. I think it starts on the 23rd, and it's like 1 hour drive from Long Beach, and that's Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert's conference, Crypto Springs. So you can do back to back both of them, and I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go. We'll do the cruise, and then we're gonna see if I can if I show up over there.
Well, you know what? We might even go with you. We're gonna have a great big bus from Ensenada, and maybe a bunch of us will just
really
slip over that conference too. Because I know Max. I talked to him. He introduced himself at the unconfiscatable. So I
That's great.
he
Yeah,
knows
that'd
who
be
I
awesome.
am, and I haven't been a big follower of his, but I know he's done some good stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
Max
just
is
so
great.
glad.
I've had him on the show before. He's an open source advocate, very knowledgeable, very active, very good communicator. You know, he works a lot too, and he's traveling all over the world. He's working with Wasabi Wallet, which is great. For those who don't know, that's the Bitcoin wallet. That's Bitcoin Mixer, so it helps anonymize your Bitcoin. It's semi-decentralized. It's a non-custodial mixer, but there's like a server in the back end that facilitates things. This is kind of like the new model of sort of non-custodial sort of services. Yeah, very exciting. Max is cool. Unfortunately, won't be able to make it, I believe, right? But yeah, we can. We have
Well,
some really
send
great.
me that link, and I'll look into it. Maybe I like Max. So
Yeah, I like Max too. He's great. And is Thomas Hunt going to be joining us as well?
yes, Thomas Hunt is going to be there. Originally, I had headlined Tyler Jenks. Of course, he passed on. But Socrates, who was his basically apprentice there, is going to be there. And we did a show just shortly before he passed on where he was introduced his 10 pillars of Bitcoin. But I wanted him to save it for the conference. And so I let him mention the 10, and he wanted, I said, no, Tyler, you have to wait until the conference, and then you can expound on these 10 pillars. So unfortunately, I wish I'd have let him go on that day, but we're going to try and reconstruct. He already had 5 pillars, and apparently he found 5 more. So
Wow, 5
do our
more.
research and find out what those are. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel really lucky to have been there, and I appreciate you inviting me on that show. I'll put the link below. The last show, one of the last shows that he did. I mean, this happened like a week later that he unfortunately died, and yeah, he was. We were on the show, and he's just very graceful and very kind and spot on and very wise. You know, so it's really great to have had his input on this community. I think everybody's been kind of shocked and I think
There
we've
was
all.
actually about 2 or 3 weeks of real grieving,
Yeah.
within the Bitcoin community over that. It was just a very unexpected and sad thing. So
Yeah, definitely unexpected and too soon. But anyway, so check that out. We'll leave the link below. It's a really good conversation. And so his apprentice Socrates is going to be there. I can't wait to meet him. He looks like a really smart guy. I just heard about him recently, and I'm glad he had an apprentice. You know, so he can carry the baton, so to speak. So looking forward to meeting him. Yeah. Who else is anybody else that's confirmed?
well, I visit the website. Let's see if I can remember right off the top of my head. We have Castusis, who's coming, which he kind of taught me a new way of looking at charts. And we have the Bitcoin Motorist is going to be there. Let's see who else. Actually, I have. I've got. This is a conference where we're going to be emphasizing entrepreneurs who are using Bitcoin, because it's not going to be so much the back end and all the technical stuff of Bitcoin, because we don't really need to know that. It's kind of like using a computer or using Zoom or using a phone. What we, as entrepreneurs, what we're doing is actually finding ways that we can be on the Bitcoin standard. And I kind of feel where my calling is to help people manage their way through it and start thinking and acting in Bitcoin. And the way, of course, the number one thing we do, which is very simple and people can't understand, it's hard to grasp, but it's hodling, where you just accumulate Bitcoin and you build a savings program and have a hodl. But now, once you have that hodl, what do you do with it? And that's basically what I'm teaching. So we want to not, once you have a hodl, there's strategies that you can do to trade it, to hedge it. You want to actually reward yourself. A lot of people just hodl. If you never sell it, if you never reward yourself, you really haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do profit from it, you want to go in and invest in things like the phone hodl.
That's right.
And that's why I really wanted you here, because you're the perfect type of new generation that's going to make Bitcoin work. And I think that what you did with, I mean, your video was just very highly entertaining, lots of fun, and you'll sell a lot just from that video, even if it doesn't work. I know my wife will want one, because we lose lots of lots of phones around here. But this is what's needed. This is where Bitcoin's got to be fun, and I like that about you, Juan. Yeah, you make it fun,
Yeah, I'm rocking double pop socket now. It's a little experimental, but it gives you even more grip on your phone, and then you can pick it on the screen on your laptop, so it's like a webcam. I'm crazy. I'm the mad scientist at Hottel.com. Check it out. This is just like a little, anyway, link below. It'll save you.
Maybe I should put one up on my hat right up here somehow.
There you go. I'll bring you a pop socket for your hat.
Something like that. Yeah, I can have it dangling from one of my ears. No, it's going to be a lot of fun. In fact, I think we've got about 10 speakers on there. You can go to the website.
What was that?
It's Ugly Old Goat. The website is uglyoldgoat.com. In fact, you need to put in your referral code because if they sign up, the cost of the conference is a 20th of a Bitcoin.
Right.
05. So based on $10,000 Bitcoin, that's about $500. But you get a 15% discount if you sign up through Juan.
That's very generous, everybody. That's a legit discount. So you don't want to miss that out. Yeah, it's going to be a very good conference.
If you go, here's our shirt. If you attend the cruise, you're going to be getting one of these. You can see it.
Cool.
Right.
It's a nice shirt.
Here's the back.
It's got nothing to go.
We have that's part of what I teach. We have a little factory down here where we make our own shirts and hats, and that's where we're going with it. And and the cost of the cruise is right around $400. Now we don't have a lot left. I have like 4 full suites left, so there's 8 seats. If you're coming with your significant other, you could probably just buy one ticket. It's going to be limited to 60 people plus the speakers, and we're going to have about 12 speakers. So it's going to be very, very small. My focus is going to be on practical knowledge and entrepreneurship, and most of the speakers have started or are starting their own little Bitcoin business, and that's and they're we all have our little ways in little specialties. Now my specialty is I happen to be a very good trader, and so I do offer that service. I write a lot of just practical Medium articles that they're pretty down to earth. They're not highly technical, and in my view, trading really isn't that hard. It's just that most people don't have the right principles. And
or education. There's certain.
I don't emphasize the technical. I think the number one thing is money management. If you can learn how to manage that equity, you will do very well.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that part of it. I don't have any formal education on trading or money management. I'm actually, my only formal education is I'm a social worker. I'm an addictions counselor and social worker, fun fact. And licensed out of Canada. And I never practiced because it's terrible and very inefficient in Canada. But that's my only formal education. So I'm really looking forward to this because what I know I've learned on the streets and on my own and on the internet and stuff and just living life and so on. So looking forward to getting that money management.
Well, that's what I am. I'm a street smart guy. I'm not that. I mean, I am educated. I do have a college degree, only because when I was in school, you either went to Vietnam or you went to school, so it was a pretty easy choice.
Sounds about right. Yeah, Vietnam. I would have skipped it.
So, can you do the screen share?
What's that?
Or can you do screen share?
Yeah, I can do screen share.
Pull up the website and we can go through the conference if you want.
Sounds good. Let me pick it out. Ugly alt goat.
Again, what you do is if you decide to go, just sign up through Juan. Incidentally, we do, Juan, I don't know if you know, for the speakers, we do have, okay, go to the conference. Right at the
That's
top.
right. So go to uglygoat.com. Actually, if you use the link below, you'll get 15% off. 15% off. And yeah, just go to learn more over here. And here's the dates. A little bit more details about the cruise. So just to be perfectly clear, because I found this a little bit confusing myself, what will be the total costs for, you know, roughly, because I understand part of it is denominated in Bitcoin. What will be the total cost, more or less, for somebody to actually get in the cruise and get to the conference? So that's cruise and the conference.
Right. The conference is Bitcoin only. So you have to
pay in Bitcoin.
Go on to the next, right. And that is a 20th of its 0.005 Bitcoin. So that's about $500, but you will get 15% off.
Okay.
So about right now it's about $400
Got
for
it.
the yeah. And then if you scroll down there now, now we also have the VIP ticket if you want to support the cause. We have a few of those left. And what way do that? If you do that, now if somebody signs up with the VIP conference, then they have, you can, and you're coming by yourself, you can actually, if a speaker's available, for example, if you want to sign up, Juan's going to have his own room, but he's going to be getting a roommate. So if you sign up with him, not only will you be able to spend the conference with him, but you'll be able to actually, you know, pick his brain for a couple days.
24/7 Juansgalt. Are you ready for this?
Right. That, yeah. You'll be ready to part company at the end of the cruise. And this is, if you've never been on a cruise, this is the way to do it, because people either really love them or they hate them. And this is a very short one. And so you can figure out, you know, if you ever want to do it again. So,
cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been in a cruise, so I'm actually quite excited. It sounds relaxing and also kind of focused. I really like the approach that you're taking. It's not academic. It's an entrepreneur's sort of working man cruise, and it's going to be very practical. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think we need more of that. I think the academic circles are there and are already established. We need to start reaching out to entrepreneurs and the businessmen, you know?
Well, to me, that's where the next big wave is going to come. Let's see. Can you scroll down some more? I think the speakers are down lower. Or
sure.
No,
just before we move to that. So okay. So and then the cruise pricing, you have to buy the cruise ticket itself. Do they buy it through you, or do they buy it like? How does that work?
You just go in and send your Bitcoin. You'll be directed through it. Just to buy the ticket there, you hit that. And then you'll sign up, and you'll be billed a Bitcoin. You send the Bitcoin, and then once we get the Bitcoin, then you'll be taken to the next step.
Got it. Okay, so just walk you through it. Okay, that's fantastic. So the website will just walk you through it. It should be fine. Yeah. So let's look at the speakers, because it's actually very exciting. There's I like that you pick kind of up and coming entrepreneurs. You didn't pick sort of like the people that we see on crypto Twitter all the time, the people that are already, you've heard their speeches multiple times if you're going to the conferences. It's sort of like kind of like the underdog, the rising tide people.
Yeah, it is kind of, but you guys are all really great. I tell you, one of the first people that I followed, my early followers, is Gabriel Divine. He and Tone Vays probably had more influence on me than anyone. And of course, Gabriel Divine has always been on the same program with Thomas Hunt and Mad Bitcoin. And of course, Mad Bitcoin is just we seem to hit it off. Ugly Old Goat and Mad Bitcoin, we can just kind of you know, do a skit right off the cuff. We don't have to practice or even have just kind of.
Yeah, Mad Bitcoins is great. I met him in Prague. I met him at the HCP conference, CCP, which is the the cyberpunk sort of institute in Prague. And yeah, we hit it off. I think he's very down to earth, sort of old school OG as it gets. He's had this show for like since 2013 about Bitcoin, the World Crypto Network, and really, he really has lived liberty and in Bitcoin. And so I'm a big fan. Really, really respect his work. Yeah, it's exciting that he's coming over. Go ahead. Who else?
All right. So the next one is Kostas Razumov. And Kostas, actually, he lived under the Soviet Union as when he was young. So he definitely has a different perspective of Bitcoin than we do in the West. And he was one that kind of introduced me to the concept that Bitcoin is really the new America. And I agree with that completely. And in
Bitcoin
fact,
is the new America. He came up with that.
yes, basically, that Bitcoin is the new America.
Absolutely.
It is the new world.
That really speaks to
I
me.
agree with that. But there's real. I think that Bitcoin. There's actually going to be a Bitcoin nation, and that's what's going to be right. And we're going to have a tremendous influence in the future. And that's what, like I said, this is the first working man's Bitcoin cruise. The big move in Bitcoin is not going to be from the unbanked. It's going to be from people that are entrepreneurs. There's two types of entrepreneurs in the world. And there's those that have Bitcoin, like Juansgalt and I, and those that don't. And the people that I've been able to reach, one person at a time, you persuade them, well, maybe you should take 10 or 15% of your bill in Bitcoin. And explaining it to them, the way I do it, I just ask, well, what do you have that can't be taken away from you, that can't be confiscated? And they start thinking and say, well, let's see, my house? No, they can get that. My car? Well, no, they can get that. My bank account? No, they can close that. My family? No, they can take my family away. And then I kind of drop the bomb on them, say, well, there's one thing that they can never take from you, and that is your Bitcoin, as long as you have the private key. And that's the value in Bitcoin. It gives us, we may not be able, I live in Ensenada, Mexico. Now, there may be a day, hopefully never, but there may be a day I can't escape Mexico, but my wealth can. That was not possible under the Soviet Union. If you're under under Soviet Union, under communism, of course, it was hard even to have wealth there. But
and it's invisible too. Like it's not something you can see or notice, right? So you could have a brain wallet, like a 12-word brain wallet in your head, and be carrying all the money in the world in it, and nobody would know. And that's something that's never been possible before. And you could send it, with access to the internet and so on. Even like people are sort of sending them through SMS, sending Bitcoin through SMS now. There's the satellite, right? The internet satellite. So even in countries where the internet is shut off and walled off, geologged, I think is what geofence is what they're calling it. Satellite signals of Bitcoin blocks are still arriving, so you can still check the price and use SMS to get out and so on. There's ways in kind of like the worst case scenarios, right? Even in Venezuela, it's been very effective too. So interesting. That's very powerful. Hopefully, we won't get to that. Hopefully, we won't have to face that. But having that option will be enough to hold ground.
Having that option is worth something, but my goal, that's not my goal. My goal is, we want to bring prosperity to the world, and we want to be successful in our enterprises. And people are going to be affected by Bitcoin even if they own no Bitcoin. And, for the very fact that as Bitcoin entrepreneurs, we will tend to be successful. And so in that regard, we will be hiring other people, and people will have their will be, if even if they don't own Bitcoin and don't know about Bitcoin, we will be able to provide them jobs. And then, of course, as that relationship develops, then you can teach them about Bitcoin, which is what I do with the people that work for me. So that's the vision I have for it. But it is also our escape clause. If the government, it's going to be a great check and balance on corrupt governments.
It changes the power dynamics at a very deep level, and that will sort of reorganize society above it. And I think we'll be better off for it. That's how I see it as well. So think we're going to be able to talk a
And
lot
I
more.
think we'll actually be setting the new standards of fashion and culture and
Right.
all of those things. That's what I see in the future. That there'll be a love-hate relationship. There'll be a few people that love us and understand what we're doing, and there'll be a lot of people that have envy and they'll hate us. But that's just to be expected. So,
Yeah.
Life's
Yep.
ahead. So I'm Joshua McEnroth. He's an attorney, and he's going to talk about how to file claims in small claims court. And I especially wanted to do that because of people have been ripped off by these exchanges. And if you're in the United States, they can be held accountable. Most people don't know that when you sign for an exchange or most anything online now, your terms and services, which you automatically click, you give up your right to appear in court. And what you're agreeing to is if there is a dispute, you're going to take it to arbitration, which is never in your locality. It's always in, the company that you signed the TOS with. It's in their locality, so you can have travel expenses plus the attorney's fees. So as long as your claim is $10,000 or less, you can handle, depending upon your state, but in California, and most of these companies, in the U.S. companies at least, they are registered in California. You can take them to small claims court, and you can actually have a very good chance of winning. As long as you make your case. So that's just a little bit of practical knowledge that we wanted to pass on to people. I'll probably actually be starting a small suit here before the conference, just so people can see how it can be done. So
very interesting. Very interesting. I actually might have some business for them too. Yeah, the exchanges are very useful.
Well, it's not for them. We're going to teach you. You can do it yourself. You don't need an attorney to do it. In fact, small claims, I don't think you can even have an attorney. So,
right.
But it is a way that you can go in and make a claim, and it's not covered by any TOS. So it's a way that you can avoid that arbitration clause.
Okay.
It's just for small claims. You have Thomas Hunt, the Mad Bitcoin. He was one of my earliest mentors. I used to love watching him. He's kind of gotten away from Mad Bitcoin, but Ugly Old Goat has been an influence to bring him back. I want the Mad Bitcoin to be the master of ceremonies of this event, and so
dude, that'd be great.
We're going to also have lots of fun. So
yeah.
And then Bitcoin Motorist, I think you've met him. I met him, I think, first in Acapulco, and then I've met him again at the Unconfiscatable. And he's just another really practical guy. Kind of gotten into the Bitcoin the same way. I know he started out because he was in a very serious motorcycle accident and couldn't work and couldn't do anything but get online and started teaching himself about Bitcoin. And he's really become a pretty big influence in the space now.
That's great.
And there we go.
Yeah, definitely seen him before. Definitely met him before.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, something you can do.
So then and he's been on Tone Bay's show. They had a little chess game last week that I thought was very entertaining. And Socrates, we had Tyler Jenks originally, which I was really looking forward to, but Socrates has agreed to come and he can't take his place, but we're going to try at least the first part of the conference will be in Tyler Jenks' honor, and we will be trying to piece together and explain what the 10 pillars of Bitcoin are rather than the 5, because he added another 5 to it. And
yeah, so Socrates is the acolyte, the apprentice of Taylor Jenks. And
well, he did a lot of original research. I have such a high regard for Tyler's work because, I'm old school. I was a former commodities trader and securities dealer, and all the books that Tyler had studied, I had too. And when I saw his, and of course, Tone and I are very close, and almost all the stuff that Tone teaches, I've always, I said, yeah, he's right on. Like I've never followed Elliott Wave, and most of the technical tools I don't find very useful. I only think you need to use a few. but when Tyler Jenks came up with his hyperwave, that really grabbed me because, and I knew exactly where he got it. There's an old guy called Ted Warren who wrote a book called How to Make the Stock Market Make Money for You. And this guy grew up in the 1930s, and he only had a 6th grade education, and yet he became a multimillionaire as a construction worker trading stocks. Wow. And it was basically, that was the birth of the hyperwave theory. He could identify and recognize a stock that was under accumulation. He would call it a manipulation and accumulation, and he called himself an investigator because he said, now here's where the stock is being, accumulated, and so this is where you want to be buying it. And he was always looking for, a quiet sideways market, and anticipating that breakout. And was I asked Tyler, I said, you didn't happen to read Ted Warren, did you? He says, oh yeah, I know Ted Warren. Well, I said, that hyperwave sure looks a lot like Ted Warren. He says, yeah, it sure does, doesn't it? So that's, it's kind of an old trading secret that then he took it to the next level and added his consensio to it, which is a very sophisticated way of looking at moving averages.
Wow.
And
fascinating.
In the next, so
that's
anyway,
very interesting.
Socrates. Yeah, no, so it's too bad that we're going to miss Tyler, but at any rate, I'm sure Socrates and I will fill in that gap best as we can.
Yeah, and others will carry the torch. I mean, he's definitely had a big influence. I'm very much looking forward to that, and looking forward to money management. I mean, I like that you're saying that you don't believe in the technicals that much, and so it seems like if you have a few good tools and a few basic, like essential understanding of technicals, and then you actually do this money management thing, then you can have a really good, just do really well with Bitcoin, right? Because the Hottel strategy alone is not enough, even though it can pay off really well. Like it's hard because it's not very agile. It's not very pragmatic, and but also becoming a full-time trader.
Once you have that Hottel is really the problem. The problem is, what do you do with that Hottel?
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a Hottel, you don't have to worry about these other things. But once you have that Hottel, how do you manage it? And that's a very, very important thing. Because if you never sell it, you're never going to get any benefits from it.
Right.
So my whole thing is that you Hottel, and then as it makes money for you, you call what I call a save. I spell it SAYVV, which is a bastardization of the word savvy, because if you're savvy, every now and again you're going to reward yourself for example,
sell at the top. You buy yourself something pretty at the top. If the price goes up 30%,
upgrade your computer,
buy yourself a car, something like that, and then that way you can basically reward yourself at the top. I mean, I've been doing that for years, and it's great. You go bear and leave in the bear market, and in the bull market you cash out and buy that thing you want to buy, right? You get basically
and you look for other opportunities. Right? Yeah. Like one thing we bought this in June or July, was the market was way up there. We bought an 18-passenger Ford bus, which we took on vacation. We went on a vacation in August to see the national parks. And we have this 18-passenger bus, which we're going to be using for the conference, and actually, bringing a lot of people. They're going to ride with us across the borders. Incidentally, about half of the people here at this conference too are Spanish speaking. My wife, the goat lady up there, is Mexican, and so we, have a special heart for Spanish speaking peoples. And that's another one of my attractions to Juan, because I knew he was from Colombia, and I have a very high regard for Colombians. So
it's a good story too.
They're good. Yeah, I can tell that story. So I can tell it now if you want, or we can wait another day.
Stay tuned.
So, and then the next guy down there is Zezo Duarte, and he was writing me because he got wrecked in the market. And so very few people a lot of people have been wrecked, but very few people want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's
They're going to kind of go public with it. It's not fun, and it's not something you're proud of.
no.
But he wanted to, because he wanted other people to hopefully avoid the mistake that he made.
Right.
And you know what? I took my hat off to him. So you know what? I need to. This message needs to get out, and I want it to be professionally recorded. So people want to know about trading and say, well, here's something you don't want to do, and here's a guy speaking from his heart. I have no doubt that Zazo is going to be a very successful man as he grows up. It's a great learning these lessons when you're young, not when you're an ugly old goat. Because I can't make those kind of mistakes anymore. But if like I told Zazo, if we could trade years, I'd give you all my Bitcoin. But we can't figure out any way that can be done yet.
Right.
So I don't know who that next guy is.
Yeah. Who is Juansgalt? Great question.
Yeah, who is Juan? Good question. But the next guy is another follower of mine, Victor, and he's an engineer here in Mexico, and he works full time. But he's followed me, and he's followed basically my strategies. I teach people that it's really not important what the market is doing; it's what are you doing, and what you really need is a technical indicator that. You need a technical indicator that a sequential indicator that tells you when to get out, tells according to the way you trade, not according to the way the market trades. And so he's actually doing that so that we can actually have a sequential indicator based on our own trading equity. Because that's what I've been doing. I've been doing it unconsciously, but I know that's what I do, and that's part of my success. So, I'm a very good trader. I started in 2013. I bought my first Bitcoin in August. It was a little under $100. And every year since then, I've successfully traded Bitcoin. In 2017, I was in the top 10 at BitX. And then I've kind of decided I don't need to do it anymore. So I started trading a little bit publicly and showing people on Medium what I did, and showed them basically last fall that I took 2 Bitcoin and ran it into over 20. And so then I started a website and started to do a subscription and did the whole thing again. Started in February 4th with 2 Bitcoin. And now we've taken 33 Bitcoin out of the market, or 31 Bitcoin out of the market. And the account's still sitting at 2 Bitcoin. And
that's really great.
So that's kind of, I try and teach people, you can do it. It's not that hard, but it does take discipline. And then we have, but that's what hopefully I'm going to be picking up that software and playing with it. So hopefully we'll have a whole new technical trading tool ready to go by the conference. That may not, but you might even get it free. Probably the conference attendees will get it free because we'll need to work the bugs out of it. Right. And then we have Daisy, who she's also kind of a, what do I call it, a Bitcoin groupie. She goes to a lot of these Bitcoin gatherings, and she's a photographer. So she's Bitcoin, and that's what we need to do. So she's going to be being the photographer of the event. Okay. And then the next guy down there, the crazy guy with the knife, he is the Bitcoin master chef.
Nice.
And so we're going to start having a little fun with all the these Bitcoin maximalists. I hate that name, but I'm going to call them that name because I'm not.
Why don't we go with Bitcoin minimalists? I finally understood what people mean by that, and it's actually kind of great. We're minimalists.
I go by I call myself a Bitcoin standard bearer.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's what I call myself. And but the Bitcoin, so those are kind of some of the things that she's done.
Yeah, the pictures, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah,
top notch. So this is where Tom Vase got that picture, right? He's got it everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great picture. Really good picture. Yeah. Okay, it's exciting.
So yeah,
you get a professional picture if you come. How much is that worth?
Yeah, I don't know. She's coming to actually visit our family afterwards, so that's one reason we have the bus. And but she's lots of fun. My wife, A&E, the goat lady, they're good friends. There's the goat lady. She actually pretty well looks like that picture. So on the show here today briefly, and I'm very fortunate to have her as a wife, and have a full family down here, and grandchildren and everything else. So
wow, that's awesome.
That's part of successful trading. You know, if you're just only into Bitcoin, you've got a pretty shallow life. So you need to make sure. And if you read, you might send the link to my last article. That one, I don't know if you read it yet or not, but it's hedging your hodl, because there's a lot of
hedging your hodl. Yeah. All right. Let me know if you can see it. I'm gonna pull up your Medium.
Yeah, it's on the. Yeah, you can just.
Oh, I guess you just put it out now.
It's down there. Yeah, just scroll down. It should be on there. Go down a little more. There it is.
Hodl.
How to keep goats hedged.
Yeah, that's really interesting. From here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other links. So if you don't have a hodl yet, I have a lot of links, you know, on how to get your hodl.
Right.
The strategies you need to do. But scroll down there and you'll see why it's wise to have a wife that spends your hodl, because sometimes they're a lot wiser than you are.
Yeah.
Not there. Keep going down.
Yeah, totally.
It's a tweet that
I've been really curious. So I've been telling a lot of family and close friends to buy Bitcoin for this wave. I'm telling them to not miss this opportunity, because I think there might be like another 2 big waves of adoption, like a couple of more big price waves in the next 10-15 years, and then it becomes a very big macro game, and you know, we're waiting 10 years for the price to move up again, like with gold these days. We might get to that at some point as well.
The biggest one is coming.
Huh?
Yeah. Scroll down some more. I want to show you the Lambo tweet. Is it? No, maybe up the other way. No, move up the other way. Move up, because this is, keep going. Oh, there it is, embedded. The one that's embedded.
All right, there we go.
The other one.
Yeah, this guy. No, this is it.
Oh, there it is. That's it. That was it. Lambos. Yep.
Tweet. Okay.
Lambos. Okay. Here's exactly what I wanted, and you might read what's above that tweet. But there's Lambo as a store of value.
That's
okay.
Great.
If you bought your Lambo here, you could buy your Lambo for 12 Bitcoin, and you could have sold your Lambo for 45 Bitcoin if you sold it down there. And my wife actually did that, because I bought her a Ford Raptor, and she held it for a year and drove it around and had a blast with it. But then she wanted to buy some equipment, because she's a designer, and she wanted some sewing machines. So she sold her Raptor, you know, that I paid like 7 or 8 Bitcoin for, and wound up getting 3 or 4 times that amount of Bitcoin, basically in a trade.
Mm-hmm. Oh, am I losing you? Test audio. Hello? Lost your audio there. Hello.
She did that. Okay. Not only that's kind of the.
Sorry, I lost your audio there.
I can hear you.
Let's just go back like 30 seconds. So so they buy the Lambo at the top, sell it at the bottom, and your wife did this with a Raptor and a Mercedes. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, and I thought it was just terrible at the time, very unwise.
Right.
You know, what she wants, she gets. Not that I necessarily approve of it, but it turned out to be the best trade of the year.
Fantastic trade.
A better trader than I was. So That's why I say we're not always so. That's guys think we're so smart in our technical analysis. Sometimes women have a much better intuition for those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised by the intuition of people that are not in it. I've been trading my dad and my just some family members, just selling them some Bitcoin. They move cash here and there and stuff, because there's 3 different countries, right? So so I've been giving them some of my Bitcoin, so they'll be stacking up Bitcoin. And their intuition is really great, because 2 of them came up to me recently. It's like, hey, I want to sell, right? how do I sell? It's like, well, yeah, so here's how you sell, but here's what you don't sell. So I advise them not to sell. But I mean, it's not a bad time to take some profits, right? Like we just did, I don't know if can you see the price charts?
Yep.
Okay, so we got like my prices, my charts are kind of a mess, but this is the 3-day. Let's go for the monthly, right? So, if you've been accumulating throughout this whole period and you sell around this area, that's not bad. I think there is a good reason to say that we might dip a little bit more. I mean, if this closes on that candle, that's a pretty ugly candle to close on. As far as I know, I'm no professional trader, but that looks like a red hammer. So it seems to me we have a good chance of taking a dip here. And so selling around this area is not a bad idea, but I advise him against it because, the chances of playing the market if you're not actually paying attention are pretty low, I think. So I told them to hold their
Right,
hodl, but their intuition might be good, Yeah.
Right, and the thing is, you don't sell all your hodl. You sell part of it, and that's what that article is about. If you don't
Right.
have a hodl, then you don't even have to worry about trading. It's
That's
once
fair.
you have a hodl, then you can trade a small part of it, and maybe up to 50% of it, 20, and it actually has better tax consequences by using a futures market than if you sell it outright. So you
Right.
won't much in taxes normally, depending upon how you do it. So, yeah, I mean, nobody knows, and that's my whole thing that I teach. I don't claim to know. I never make a forecast. I don't claim to know where the market is going. In fact, I trade on the basis that I have no clue where it's going and trade accordingly. The question is not where the market is going, but what are you going to do when it gets there?
Right.
And so, and there's no reason to think this market, it could double in price, or it could go all the way back down to 3,000. It wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would love to see it go into a long-term bear market and slowly meander and grind down to 3,000 again. That would give us a tremendous double bottom. And then when we pull up out of here, you're going to have a flying W, which is an extremely bullish signal. And I am looking for, I think that the next wave is probably going to be the biggest wave Bitcoin has. And the reason I say that is, and that's part of what the headline of this conference, I'm saying that because the future is not in banking the unbanked. They're unbanked normally for a reason. Most of them are unbanked simply because they're not prudent, or they never learned math in school, or for whatever reason. And the other reason is they're doing something illegal. And the third reason could be, okay, they're doing something that's politically out of favor. Of course,
Well, there's also possible that they're outside of reach, right? I mean, there is a cost to being banked, like an infrastructure cost. So that there's a fourth possibility there.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons, but most are unbanked. I'd say 90% are unbanked for a reason, because they don't have a bank account, because they're living from one day to the next. They don't have an entrepreneurial mind. And the point is, as entrepreneurs, we're going to be affecting even people that don't own Bitcoin, because we're going to be employing them, contracting with them, and we'll be doing business with other entrepreneurs who have basically the Bitcoin ethic. And I think that's what's going to be the big change in the world. And that's why I think Bitcoiners will actually, in the next generation, they'll be the fashion setters of the world, that people will want to emulate, who you're going to be growing up to be, as you get to be my age, Juan. And that's why I say, when I met you, first, I was very impressed the first time I met you, because you're a young guy. I could tell you're not highly educated, but you're self-taught, and you don't know how much respect that I get. I mean, that means more to me than, if you have an ivory tower education. I mean, I can deal with those people, but they really don't have, most of them don't have their feet squarely on the ground.
Yeah, they're a little bit arrogant, aren't they? Just the tide.
Well, not bad. They're arrogant too. Not a lot of them are very humble, but they really don't get it. Yeah, some of them, they're not all arrogant.
Yeah,
but a lot of them are arrogant, but they just don't have the most of them are not good traders. You know that too, because this was kind of going into that because I think it can be quantified. You don't have to be, you know, a rocket scientist or a heart surgeon to be a good trader. In fact, you're probably better off if you're not, because it's an art. It's not a science. So, anyway.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I really
I'm
do.
going to take my mask
live
off.
your
So I
age.
really don't wear this all the time, and it does get hot. So here we go.
All right. Yeah, it's getting
There
hot.
I am. And I don't know if I showed off. Whew, it is hot in there.
It's hot in here too.
I don't know if I showed off the shirt or not, but this is one
Yeah,
of
you
the
did.
parts that you get if you go on the trip. Okay.
That's a nice shirt.
Yeah, we'll have other things. We're gonna have hats there. All the hats are gone. I have a little goat hat.
I want a hat. I like hats. I have a crazy hat collection.
Yeah, well,
Might do a video about it soon.
Okay. So
Right.
yeah, it's going to be lots of fun, and you know, all I want to do is be the inspiration and let you guys run the show. I just want to be, you know, I just want to have a wealth of good practical advice. I think Tone couldn't make it, but he wants to maybe do a phone in if we have a good enough internet connection. And I'm not done finding speakers. There might be I still might have a Bitcoin developer come. He hasn't said no yet. Okay, so hence yes, but hasn't said no. So that's it. And like I say, if the conference it's a 20th of a Bitcoin, which right now with the 15% discount, the conference is going to be about $400, and the cruise is about $400.
Got it.
So the whole thing is like $800, and it's, you know.
And if you teach us how to manage your Bitcoin and accumulate Bitcoin so you can ride the next wave, it'll pay off many times.
Right. Well, and when I priced it, I mean, Bitcoin was about $5,000. So, you know, when you price things in Bitcoin, it happens to work my way. But it's very limited. You know, it's going to be a very limited conference. It's be a very intimate one. And, you know, we'll just see. I'm hoping that, you know, the content will be recognized for what it is. And hopefully it'll be a growing event, because I think that's where the future is.
So it's more of a businessman sort of entrepreneurs conference, right? Like, you know, it's people that are working. It's not an academic conference, not an engineering conference. It's for entrepreneurs and businessmen. Yeah,
we're not going to teach you how a node works. We're not going to teach you, you know, what a blockchain is. I mean, just accept the bait in the very simple terms. Why Bitcoin is the blockchain. I do like to explain that.
Right.
I mean, one of the biggest difficulties I've had, and I think you had that great debate with Roger Ver, but one of the problems that we've had in this is people are new to it, and they get sidetracked into all the shit coins and the garbage. And that's why I don't consider myself even part of the crypto world at all. So don't call me crypto. I'm a Bitcoin standard bearer, Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. I've been there. I was in there and had my little altcoin experience, and I understand the thinking. But you need to understand that the competition is going to be on a standard, and there's only going to be one standard. I didn't really fully realize that. I was a student of A.F. Hayek and actually knew him personally, and I was able to dig up an old article that he wrote in 1985, and that's because I never understood when he wrote his Denationalization of Money is how you could have these competing standards. And it wasn't a competing. So he said there'd be one standard that will emerge, and then it will compete with the government standards. And that finally rang a bell, because what everybody else is doing is they want to be the standard. And I don't want to be the standard, but the competition is not going to be for that standard. The competition is going to be on the standard that has developed. And the reason Bitcoin is going to be the standard is because it's the longest chain with proof of work.
Yeah.
And it's the most secure because it's the simplest software. That's why I wanted to get Bitcoin Motorist on there, because he has a really good understanding with that. He played a chess game with Tone Vays a week ago, and they just were sitting down casually playing chess, and Bitcoin Motorist beat Tone twice.
Yeah. That's great. I didn't know
but,
that. I didn't know about it.
But he outlined some, there's a term for it in computer science where simple is secure, complex is not secure.
Yeah.
And that's Bitcoin is simple, and that's why it's safe.
Yeah. That's great. I really like this, and I really like that it's not an introduction level conference. It's not an academic conference. It's a pragmatic business and entrepreneurial conference, and it sounds like it's going to be great for kind of it's going to be a great place to build relationships and entrepreneur great relationships going forward for the next wave. Whatever is built this year and this coming year is may become quite big in the future. So I'm quite excited. Looking forward to it. We're coming in on an hour, so we should give some final thoughts. Go ahead.
No, I'm really excited about it. I'm just excited about Bitcoin. I don't have to be doing this. I made mine and to be retired and I took a month off just to be with my family. But I do. Bitcoin's exciting. I mean, it really is, and I'm so fortunate to be alive. I'm just amazed, that we're at where we're at. 40 years ago, I would have never dreamed of it. And when I first saw, I heard about Bitcoin a little bit, but I didn't study it till August of 2013. Once I read that white paper and then checked and said, is this really for real? The light bulb just clicked. I said, this is the future. And, once you have that awakening, and it's still very, very early. Yeah. And if you're in business, you need to, like I say, there's two kinds of entrepreneurs, those of us that have Bitcoin and those that don't. Those that don't need to get Bitcoin, and they need to slowly build to the point where 15% of their assets are in Bitcoin. Those of us that have Bitcoin, well, I used to have all of my assets because, I did 11 years in prison. I got out and did nothing and had nothing. So I had all my assets in Bitcoin. Well, now I have, I still have a nice huddle of Bitcoin, but I have, about 5 cars, a bus, and 3 houses and a factory. So, that's what Bitcoin can do for you.
Yeah. Okay. And that's a really interesting backstory that you have too, which I think we'll have to talk in detail about it some other time. But just for context, what was it that you went to prison for?
Wire fraud and bank fraud. I actually was in the private money movement way back in the 1970s. I was the first person to mint gold coins in the decimalized ounce. Wow. Everybody else wanted to do it in kilograms. And in fact, the Krugerrand even came up with a baby rand. It was after I decimalized, came out, I did a Harwood gold piece, which was a 1 ounce piece, a Hayek ½ ounce piece, a Hazlitt ¼ ounce piece, and an Adam Smith 10 piece. Wow. After I did that, and then all the governments followed suit and also decimalized the 20 ounce, because 20 ounce is really, nobody had ever done that before. And so that's kind of where I got my start. I didn't run off with the funds, but I mismanaged the funds. Mm. And then I also had, some severe marriage problems that compounded things. Make a long story short, my business collapsed. I was I was heavily in debt. And so the government was all ready to shut me. They were ready to do a Ross Ulbricht on me. Yeah, the Federal Reserve actually came in my office several years before. They wanted to know what I was up to. So,
and they what?
So I was kind of a pioneer in the private money movement way back when, long before cryptocurrencies.
Wow, fascinating.
So,
wow. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll get more and more in that. I'll be writing about it. It's kind of good therapy.
Good story. So. Yeah. So. Yeah, there's some OGs I've met that are like before Bitcoin, back in the private money days, it's basically the times when we realized the hard way that centralized private money wasn't going to work, and that's where Bitcoin came from. So you guys are the fathers of it in a way.
This is it. Yeah, this is really it. So, yeah, and like I say, this Bitcoin is built on the shoulders of intellectual giants.
Yeah.
It is built on von Mises and E.C. Harwood and F.A. Hayek and Henry Hazlitt and Milton Friedman, the free market economists. And then on top of that, it's the cryptographers who studied the economics and developed the software for that broadest Bitcoin, which is really, this is a whole, because these guys, I mean, if you look at Szabo and some of the things that were written, they had
they're giants. They're intellectual giants. Yeah, their scope. I mean, Nick Szabo alone is just, try to keep up with him. It's unbelievable. Try to read one of the articles that he writes, and you'll have food for thought for months, easily a couple months if you just really take it seriously.
No,
it's really.
And I haven't read all of them, but yeah,
Me
but
neither. I've kind of skimmed some of his stuff, and it's just fascinating, very deep.
Yeah, well, a lot of people think he is Satoshi, so
some people
don't know and don't care, but yeah, and I hope he sticks around. I know the last time I saw him, I think was maybe
probably in La Bitcoin.
He was in Bogota. You were in Bogota.
That's where you got that poster. That's where I got this poster.
Okay, okay. And this one,
yeah, Latin American Bitcoin Conference, Colombia version. So no one coming in Uruguay this year that I'm being, my friend really wants me to go to. But anyway, good conference, great conference.
My wife, we like to go to that one. Just she's Mexican, and it seems like my calling is not in the United States anymore. I mean, that's I'm really I'm an international. I'm not an international man. I just I've got a lovely family who I want to live my life out with. And Bitcoin's my hobby. So this is, it's my fun. Bitcoin is lots of fun. It really is. So, okay. Well, at any rate, Juan, I'm looking forward to it. I know you're going to do a great job. I would recommend guys, sign up for this conference. You're not going to find a less expensive cruise. The conference ticket price is a little bit high. About $400, but we'll make sure you get your money's worth. And if Bitcoin drops $500 or $1,000 in the next couple of days, you might
you might get a discount, maybe 20% off.
Yeah, might be able to get a nice discount. So, but it is going to fill up, and it's limited to 60 people, including the speakers. You saw the speakers. We can't take any more than that because there's only one conference room on the ship. And so
so it's an entrepreneurs conference. So if you're already thinking about building Bitcoin businesses, if you're building a Bitcoin business and you can make it, you might want to really think about it and join us, because I'm excited. I can't wait. I think it's going to be very practical.
And Juan's a good guy to hang out with because he's young and got lots of ideas. Now, I'm sure he'll be like everybody else, like me and everybody else. 80% of them won't fly, but the 5 or 15% that do, and some of them will just go flat, but he's going to hit some home runs. And you want to when he gives you an opportunity to do something, I would consider it very much, because I see just these young guys that are in Bitcoin today are going to be the world leaders of tomorrow. And I see that in Juan, I see it in Zazo, and so many of you young guys. And I'm here. Hey, I made it. I want to encourage you. I know it's a struggle when you're young, but you know what? I'll be glad to trade my Bitcoin for a few of your years. So
maybe we'll figure that out.
Hopefully, I'm ugly and tough. I'm not near the gentleman Tyler is, so maybe I'll last longer. But
yeah, he's a gentleman for sure. All right. Well, in honor of Tyler, looking forward to meeting you. And, yeah, thanks for coming on the show. We'll looking forward to doing another one in the future. I'll see you at the conference.
All righty. Yeah. Saturday night, we're going to do a Saturday Night Live this Saturday. So if you're around, if you feel to come in, I'm going to get the Master Chef on, and we're going to have we'll be serious, but have some fun too. So.
All right. Well, maybe I can make it to that. We'll see. All right. Take care, man.
Thanks, Juan. Bye-bye.
Bye.